if Reacher is quietly becoming the kind of franchise most streaming shows keep promising they will be, but almost never actually become? Because that is the real story here. Yes, Reacher season 4 being confirmed for 2026 is exciting on its own. Yes, Alan Ritchson saying this might be the best season yet is exactly the kind of quote fans want to hear. And yes, the fact that the next season is adapting Gone Tomorrow instantly gives longtime child readers a reason to pay closer attention. But the part that really jumps out to me is bigger than one season. It is the fact that Prime Video may have quietly built one of the most reliable modern crime action universes on streaming. And that is not something most platforms can say with a straight face, because we all know how this usually goes now. A hit show arrives, people get attached, the platform celebrates, then everything slows to a crawl. 2 years pass, maybe 3. A spin-off gets announced and vanishes into development fog. A cast member posts one vague set photo and fans are expected to live off crumbs. By the time the next season shows up, half the momentum is gone and the conversation has moved on. Reacher has not really played that game, and that is a huge part of why it matters. Prime Video's Reacher has already done something difficult with its first 3 seasons. It has stayed commercially strong, stayed critically solid, and somehow kept the core appeal of the character intact while changing the scale, supporting cast, and book material around him. That is harder than it looks. Action thrillers burn out fast when they start confusing repetition with consistency. Reacher has mostly avoided that trap by remembering what the audience actually comes for: competence, violence with purpose, clean momentum, and a central lead who feels like a force of nature without becoming boring. That formula still works. More importantly, it has not been taken for granted. Now season 4 is locked for 2026. And the fact that it is adapting Gone Tomorrow makes the whole thing even more interesting. For readers, that book choice matters because it puts Reacher in a story that is more urban, more paranoid, and more tightly tied to the machinery of post 9/11's anxiety than some of the earlier books. Gone Tomorrow begins with Reacher on a late-night New York City subway and quickly spirals into a mystery involving a suicide, hidden connections, and larger forces moving behind the scenes. If the show handles that correctly, season 4 could end up feeling more claustrophobic, more procedural, and more conspiracy-driven than what we have seen before. That is a strong lane for the series, because one of Reacher's best qualities as a show is that it can keep the core fantasy of the character intact while changing the flavor of the danger around him. Sometimes the fun is small-town corruption, sometimes it is military baggage, sometimes it is organized violence. Gone Tomorrow gives the show the chance to lean into urban tension, surveillance, unease, and the kind of pressure that makes Reacher feel less like a drifter wandering into trouble and more like a human battering ram dropped into a system built on lies. That could be excellent. And Alan Ritchson clearly thinks they have something special this time. He recently said season 4 is by far the best season they have done yet and confirmed that it is coming in 2026. Actors hype their own shows all the time. Sure, that is part of the job. But with Reacher, that confidence lands a little differently because the show has actually earned the benefit of the doubt. This is not a series trying to sell audiences on a comeback after collapsing. It is a series trying to extend momentum it already has. And then there is the other half of the story. Neagley. This is where Prime Video starts to look even smarter, because the Reacher universe is not just returning with season 4, it is also preparing to expand with the Neagley spin-off. And that timing is exactly why 2026 could end up being such a strong year for this franchise. Maria Stan's Frances Neagley has been one of the most consistently compelling supporting characters in the series from the start. She is efficient, sharp, emotionally guarded, and interesting precisely because the show has never over-explained her. Spinning her off only works if the audience already wants more without feeling like the main show is being drained to feed a side project. Reacher is in that sweet spot. Neagley wrapped filming long before Season 4 finished, and reporting around the production strongly suggests it is expected before Reacher returns. That sequencing matters. It keeps the franchise active, it fills the gap without feeling like filler, and it lets Prime Video do something most streamers seem incapable of doing now, keeping a successful brand alive with actual new episodes. Instead of just announcements, that is rare and it is one of the main reasons I think Reacher is starting to achieve something bigger than simple hit show status. It is building a legacy structure that may sound dramatic, but look around the streaming landscape. How many modern action crime shows have managed to stay this stable while expanding at the same time? Not many. Bosch pulled off something impressive over time, especially with Bosch, Legacy, and now Ballard helping preserve that world. But even there, the expansion often felt sequential rather than simultaneous. Reacher and Neagley have a chance to grow in parallel, and that can be much more powerful if both shows are good. Because parallel growth changes the audience relationship. It makes the universe feel active instead of archived. It also creates a mutually beneficial loop. A strong Reacher season can boost Neagley. A strong Neagley run can make audiences more invested in the larger world around Reacher. Characters can move between those spaces. Tone can cross-pollinate, and the whole franchise can start to feel less like one hero carrying everything by himself and more like a genuine modern pulp universe. That is the dream, but the dream only works if the quality holds. That is the real pressure point now, because Reacher has set a high bar for itself, and success makes audiences less forgiving, not more. Once a show becomes known as the dependable version of a genre, every new entry gets measured against the whole brand, not just the season before it. If Season 4 lands, then Ritchson's confidence will start looking prophetic. If Neagley lands too, then Prime Video has something even more valuable, a self-sustaining action thriller brand with real spin-off potential and consistent audience trust. That is gold for a streaming platform. And to be fair, Neagley is not a random choice for expansion. She is probably the smartest spin-off path the show could have taken. Unlike Reacher, she is not based around a massive shelf of direct source material narratives in the same way, which means the series has more room to define itself tonally. That is risky, yes, but also exciting. It means Neagley is not just trying to be Reacher without Reacher. It has the chance to become its own thing while still feeding the same audience appetite for investigations, physical competence, and tightly wound threats. If they get that balance right, it could be a huge win. If they get it wrong, it becomes exactly the kind of franchise dilution people are tired of. So 2026 is going to be a major test year, but it is also going to be a major opportunity year, and that is why I find this whole situation so interesting. Reacher Season 4 is not just another renewal. It is a stress test for whether Prime Video could actually maintain a high-functioning action franchise at a time when most platforms struggle to maintain momentum, even one hit show. The fact that filming wrapped on Season 4 in late 2025, with Neagley already deep into post-production long before that, suggests the machine is moving efficiently. That alone is impressive in this era. There is also something very fitting about Gone Tomorrow being the book that carries this next stage. The title itself almost sounds like a mission statement for a franchise trying to avoid the waiting game rot of streaming television. Keep moving, keep hitting, keep the audience fed. Do not disappear for years and expect loyalty to survive on memory alone. That is exactly the kind of discipline viewers reward now, and Prime Video seems to understand that. So yes, Reacher Season 4 returning in 2026 is good news for fans, but I think it is even bigger than that. I think it is evidence that this franchise is starting to do something rare. It is proving that a streaming action series can be successful, consistent, expandable, and still feel alive instead of overmanaged. If Season 4 really is the best one yet, and if Neagley arrives strong, then 2026 will not just be a good year for Reacher fans. It will be the year this franchise stops being just a hit show and becomes one of Prime Video's most valuable long-term universes. That is a serious leap. And honestly, It feels earned. So now, I want to know what you think. Do you believe Gone Tomorrow is the right book for Reacher Season 4? Or were you hoping the show would adapt a differently child's story first? And more importantly, if Neagley actually works as a spin-off, does Reacher suddenly become the rare streaming franchise that can grow without losing what made it great in the first place? That is the real question, and 2026 might answer it. I'll see you in the next one.